Hello and welcome to EMR Optimization for Cancer Screening, PS Suite EMR. This video is part of training module number 2, and the topic is Using Searches for Cancer Screening. Please take a moment to review our speaker disclosure slide. The objectives of this training video are to help PS Suite users understand the purpose of searches and how they work, and learn how to translate cancer screening guidelines into search criteria. To start us off, I'd like to put this training in the context of a typical cancer screening workflow. Searches are a tool that can be used for population-based screening. This means that on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months, your practice will make a proactive push to identify all patients who are due for screening, review the list to assess each patient's screening needs, and contact everyone on the list to encourage screening. So how can searches help us do this work? Well, searches are a means of identifying patients according to a set of defined criteria. That first step in the workflow. The search will look through the record of all patients in your practice and will produce a list of just the patients that meet those criteria. That list can then be reviewed by a clinician to ensure the right patients have been identified. To create a search, you separate each line of criteria with the Boolean operators and, or. You'll use and when two lines of criteria must both be true. So, for example, if you are looking for patients who need a mammogram, you need to look for patients who are both female and are under the age of 75. You'll use or when only one of the two lines has to be true. So for example, if you're looking for patients who are at high risk of breast cancer, those patients could either have a gene mutation that increases their cancer risk or have a first-degree relative with a gene mutation. Either one of those will put the patient at high risk, but you don't need to have both. So how do you establish criteria for the search? Well, it's helpful to first understand how the criteria will function. Essentially, every line of criteria in a PS Suite search will be composed of two basic parts. The first part tells the system where to look in a patient's chart. In this example, mammogram is a specific report name classified under the category diagnostic imaging. The search is going to look in this category for every patient to find a record. The second part of this search tells the system what to look for. This is basically the rules of the search. In this case, we are looking for the patients with no record of a mammogram within the last 12 months. So now, with this line of criteria, the system will be looking in the mammogram records of each patient, and including people in the search results if they have no record within 12 months. If a patient does have a record of a mammogram within the last 12 months, that patient will be excluded from the search results. This is important to understand. If you recall from the last training module on data discipline, if you have entered a mammogram record under a different name or in a different category, this line of criteria will not find the patient's record. That patient would then be included in your search results, even though she may not be due for screening. Here we've provided a few more examples of search criteria that you may use in your cancer screening searches. As we've demonstrated, every line of criteria is always made up of the two parts, where to look and what to look for. The where is always a specific location in the patient chart, and the text you see is the specific name of the field under a specific category. Sex is a defined field under demographics. PAP test report is a specific report in the category called diagnostic test results. The what to look for always defines the rules of the search. This is telling you what data you wish to include in your search results. In the first line, we will only include patients whose sex is defined as female. In the third line, we are only including patients who have no record of a PAP test report in the last 36 months. So now that we've covered how search criteria works, the next step is to figure out what we want our criteria to be based on. For this, we look to Cancer Care Ontario's screening guidelines and recommendations. In this example, we will create a search to find patients who are at an average risk for breast cancer. The search will be intended to find those patients who are due for a mammogram. In our first box, we've listed the clinical guidelines for average risk breast screening. In the second box, you can see that the data for these criteria may be found in distinct areas of the patient chart. Age and sex information are found in patient demographics. Records of mammograms may be found in the diagnostic imaging category, and patient and family medical history may be found in fields within the cumulative patient profile. Once you have an idea on where you will search for the data, the last box illustrates how you can define the rules of what you will be searching for. So, in the age and sex fields, you're looking for patients 50 to 74 years old and female. In the mammogram field, you're looking for recent results more than 24 months ago. And in the cumulative patient profile, you're looking to exclude patients based on their medical history, like a diagnosis of breast cancer or a previous mastectomy. Cancer Care Ontario has developed 2 worksheets to help improve the accuracy of your cancer screening searches. In the first worksheet, you will be encouraged to run the cancer screening searches that are based on your team's data standards. You will then have a clinician review the list to determine which patients ought to be excluded from the results and which patients ought to be considered at an increased risk for cancer. In the second worksheet, we provided suggestions for ways to improve the accuracy of your searches by using new data standards to flag patients that should either be excluded from screening or be managed as part of a high-risk population. And that takes us to the end of this training video. The next video in this module will show you a real demonstration of how to create and run a search in PS Suite EMR. We have short tip sheets on how to build sample searches for breast, cervical, and colorectal cancer screening. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we encourage your team to check out the 2 worksheets available for improving the accuracy of your searches. Before you move on, please take a moment to complete the short quiz that will test what you've learned in this module. Thanks very much for watching.